webinar for objection handlers for today's market with MAPS Coach Anna Krueger. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available within 24 hours on the MAPS Fast Track YouTube channel. Currently, everyone's on mute. However, if you have any questions for your coach, please type them into the chat box. Following the meeting, if you have any questions about today's call or other coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. And that's all for me, Anna. Please take it away.
All right, well, welcome everyone. If you can see me and hear me, give me a hello in the chat box and let us know where you're from and honestly what you would most like to learn from today's webinar. Obviously, we have the topic uncovering objections in today's market, and we have a lot of people registered. So I'm really glad you guys are here and thinking about how you can improve your conversion skill in today's market. So we're not going to waste a lot of time. We're going to jump right in. But I do want to introduce myself real quick. I see a lot of faces here that I've never seen before. And then I see a lot of old friends. Not old, you're not old, just former, longtime friends. How about that? But my name's Anna Krueger. I have been doing sales since 2006. I started off terribly in sales. Almost got let go from my first class, or my first team, I should say. And that really caused me to think, what do I need to learn so I can master this skill? I either need to get out of the sales industry or I need to figure this out, and I need to figure it out quick. So I started learning some language patterns, and those language patterns truly have transformed my life. And I don't mean that dramatically. I mean that sincerely. I very quickly started making more income. How many of you would like to make more income? Anybody? Anybody at all? Yeah. So the language patterns helped me very quickly earn a higher income because I was actually having sales. Imagine that. I also felt a lot less stressed because when I walked into work, I felt like I had a framework for me being myself, but it was effective. So if you're wondering what's the difference between a script and a language pattern, let me explain that to you real quick. I would say a script is kind of like a pre-written set of words that you say the same way every time. So for example, a script could even be how you open a call. And everybody might say it the same way on a team. And I definitely think that they have a place. When I was new in sales, I needed a script because I had no idea what I was doing. So I needed someone to literally hand me a playbook of say this and go be productive. And that was helpful. A language pattern is more a construct. And I'm going to give you a language pattern today for objections. And what I love about a language pattern is it gives you a science of how to talk to people that's proven to work. However, it lets you be yourself. So currently we have 177 people on this webinar and growing. There's almost 600 people registered. And what that means is there might be 600 ways that what I teach you today will sound. But as long as you all follow the 4 steps to uncover an objection, we are all doing it correctly. How many of you want a way to sound like yourself, but not sound salesy? And you have a system that actually works. So that's the goal for today, is to give you a structure that works for objections. And then we're going to talk through the top 4 most common objections we're hearing in today's market. And then at the end of the class, I'll tell you where you can get more information like this. And I have a discount code and an announcement that I just confirmed literally at 1:58 my time, which is just a few moments ago. So I have an announcement, a discount code. But before we do any of that, let's jump into today's training. So everybody grab pen and paper. I'm going to give you a language pattern that will absolutely change your world and help you be more effective at dealing with objections. So first, we're going to do an experiment. If I say that I want to wait until the fall to either buy or sell a house, please blow up the chat box. Why do you think I'm saying I want to wait until the fall? And I'm going to read out some of what you guys are typing in. And you can also unmute yourself. I love the interaction. So why do you think someone might want to wait till the fall? All right, I'm going to try to read these. Uncertain, interest rates, I might get a better deal. I'm fearful I'm going to overpay. The market is slower. Interest rates might drop, better pricing. The kids are back in school. And guys, that's 8 different reasons. Can we all see that? That's 8 different reasons. And my chat box is saying I have 28 messages I haven't gotten to yet. And even in just those few, there were 8 different reasons for why someone might want to wait. Here's another one. I'm working on my credit, vacation plans, inventory, school. And then a lot of Ryan says new construction tax breaks. Jim You're right. Some of them might be blowing us off. That might be true. Yeah. And so with all that being said, I now got up to about 13 different reasons. And again, there's almost 40 messages I haven't even gotten to. So can we all just agree that if someone says an objection, we really can't have a one-liner? How many of you have been in trainings where they say, if they say this, here's your one-line response. And it's usually to the tune of, here's why you should do it. And let me ask y'all a question. If you are talking to a salesperson, maybe you're buying a car or thinking about insurance, or maybe when you were buying a house, if the salesperson just hears your objection and then immediately responds with, well, here's why you should do it. What's your internal response to that interaction? A lot of you are shaking your heads no. And I agree. Now it's coming from usually a good place. Usually we want to help the person and we're thinking of the people we need to provide for. So I need to make sure that I get this person moving, yet it's really not that effective. So what we need to do is make sure that we know how to uncover the true objection. So we're going to start today's training with a 4-step process for how to uncover what they're actually saying. So we're going to get them to tell us it is because of school. It is because I'm afraid I'm going to overpay. And we get past the surface of just, I want to wait. Now, if you've taken any classes with me, you will have heard this before. I encourage you to listen as if you had to teach this tomorrow. So when you've heard something before, it's easy to kind of tune out. Yet if you were called upon and said, hey, can you teach this class tomorrow? Maybe to Gary Keller. Could you do it? Could you do it? So if you've heard it before, take notes as if you're teaching this tomorrow. All right, so here's the steps to uncover an objection. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to welcome it and rephrase it. So if someone says, I want to wait till the fall, that could sound something like, hey, I am so glad that you told me. What you're saying is you want to wait until the fall. Is that correct? And let me ask you, preferably someone who hasn't taken class with me, so I hear some different ideas. Why do you think we take the time to welcome it and rephrase it? What's the psychology going on there? And you can unmute yourself and answer me or use the chat box.
Acknowledge.
Acknowledgement?
To understand.
You're validating what they're saying.
To show that you're listening. To show that you're listening.
Yeah, I love the energy from you guys. Yes, absolutely. People want to feel like they're right? And again, a lot of you are saying we want to make them feel heard. Here's the other thing is an object in motion stays in motion. Well, it's the same thing. If we get a yes, it does help us to continue getting yes. So do you see how up there at number 1, we're asking an easy yes, right? So instead of, well, you should buy right now because, or you should sell right now because, what we're going to do is say, hey, I'm so glad you brought that up. What you're saying is you want to wait until spring. Is that correct? Or fall. Is that correct? Okay, great. Then we do number 2, which is open digging. Now, I teach a class where we go in depth into what is a digging question, but let me give you a crash course. Digging simply means I'm using a phrase that they said in the next question. So for a non-real estate example, if someone says elephant, I might say, what about an elephant matters to you? I'm using their word in the next question. If they say, I want to wait till fall, then a question could be, what about waiting until fall is important to you? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig into that twice. We've studied this, and I've also read books that talk about this, but the key to really uncovering an objection is to ask at least 2 to 3 additional questions off their original answer. So let me ask you guys another question. Why are we using their words in the question we're asking back to them? What's that psychology? If you've taken language of sales with Kara, it's mirroring and matching.
You're in their tribe.
Yes, I hear you. I'm using your language. Yes. We do this subconsciously. And even though I teach this kind of stuff, even if I do it, it's not on purpose. It's just a subconscious thing. But have you ever noticed that if you're in person with someone, if you're sitting the same way, like if one person's sitting like this and then someone else, oh my gosh, so many of you just went like this. Was that on purpose? I'm so curious. Did you do that on purpose or are we just in good rapport? But yeah, if you're sitting the same way, that's a sign that we are in good rapport. If you're leaning on the counter and the person you're talking to kind of leans their hip on the counter, that's actually a pretty good sign that you are in good rapport. So all that to be said, we can't really do that when we're on the phone, right? We can't mimic their behavior, their physical behavior. So what we're going to do to build a rapport is to use their words. That's what we're going to do. To give you a quick testimonial to encourage you in this, I had a guy call me from California. I live in South Carolina, so we have way cheaper housing than California. And he called and said, I have a lot of money. It's literally what he said. I have a lot of money and I want to buy 250 houses in Greenville, South Carolina over the next 5 years. I can buy way more real estate there than I can in California. Well, what would you do if you were on the phone with a guy that wants to buy, like one person wants to buy 250 houses? I pretty quickly would want to make sure that I do not screw up the call. Can you all agree with that? And so I started doing keyword backtracking where I'm using his words in the next question. And do you know that he interrupted me and said, I don't know what it is about you. I just like you. I don't usually meet with realtors, but I'll meet with you. And I knew it was because I was mirroring and matching his words. But to him, it was a mystery. He just knew that he liked interacting with me. So that's why that matters. So what about their word is important to you? What makes you believe that? Then number 3, you're going to go on and summarize it back. And hopefully we get another yes. But this does give them a chance that if we are summarizing it incorrectly, they can correct us. And sometimes that happens. So maybe I had an assumption or I misunderstood something. So I might say, all right, Elaine, I think what I'm hearing you say is that you want to wait until the fall. And that's for 2 reasons. You have your kids' school schedule. And then also you want to see what happens with the interest rates to see if they go down. Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. And if she says no, then she'll go ahead and fix it for me. And then now I know we're on the same page. Thanks, Elaine. All right. And then the 4th step is conditional close. So now I'm going to word it as, hey, if I can solve it, would you be open to the solution? So in this case, it would sound something like, hey, Elaine, if I can show you that buying a home right now would not impact your kids with school, and we make sure that you are comfortable with the interest rate, would you be open to moving sooner than the fall?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And then at that point, I would go into the solution, which we'll talk about in just a minute for those top 4 objections of today's market. The thing is, this works for every objection. So today we're centering ourselves on the top 4 objections of today's market, yet you can use this anytime. If someone says, I don't want to buy that house because of the neighborhood it's in, or I don't want to buy that house, it's too close to my in-laws, or I don't want to sell the house for whatever reason, you can use this at any time. The biggest thing with this pattern is I think people underestimate how often they will use it. I know from doing lead generation calls, it's very reasonable to think that you might use that 5 times on one phone call, depending on the length of the conversation. So someone says, I don't want to meet with you. Use that pattern. I'm so glad you told me you don't want to meet, right? Okay, what makes you not want to meet? And usually they say they want to save time. Can I give you all a bonus objection handler beyond the market ones? What we found on our team is if someone met with us, they only looked at 3 to 4 houses to go under contract. If someone did not meet with us and we were like, okay, well, we'll just meet you out in the field. How many houses do you think they looked at? So it's 3 or 4 when they meet with us. It was 12 when they did not meet with us. So if someone says, I don't want to meet with you because I think it's going to waste time. Okay, tell me a little bit about your time. And we would go into it. And then I could share, you know, if I can show you that meeting with us actually saves you time, would you be open to that? Sure. Okay, well, on average, you'll see 8 less houses. Imagine the length of time it will take you to look at 8 houses. Wouldn't it make sense to meet with me and save time? So that one's a bonus for you. All right, so everyone have these 4 steps down. Make sure you grab it. I encourage you to write it down. Don't take a picture because your brain will remember it better, okay? All right, so now let's run through the 4 top objections of today's market. And there actually could be multiple ways you handle these. I'll give you some common answers for how you handle these. And then I'll open it up to questions and tell you where you can find more information like this. Are y'all learning something so far? Give me a thumbs up. Awesome. I'm a feedback person. I need your faces. I need some expressions going on. All right. So the first one is interest rates. People are concerned about interest rates. So let me hear from you in the chat box. Don't unmute for right now, but in the chat box, tell me, how are you handling the interest rate objection? I'm not the only teacher here, so maybe some of you have some ideas that would help the group. The first thing I would say to you is what we find when we uncover. So someone says, I'm worried about interest rates. Number one, thank you so much for telling me you're worried about interest rates, correct? Okay, great. What about interest rates concerns you? And as we do the 4-step process that I showed you, the overwhelming majority of the time, they're not actually worried about the interest rate. What do you think they're worried about?
Their monthly payment.
They're worried about their monthly payment. They're worried about their monthly payment. So the issue, a lot of times it's like we're talking about the wrong thing. We're talking about the wrong thing. What we actually need to be talking to them about is what monthly payment they can afford. Now, don't assume, again, do the 4-step process to uncover the objection. But my guess would be most people are going to say, I'm worried about my monthly payment. So in that case, the best thing that you can do is find out, well, what monthly payment do you feel you can afford? Does that include everything? You know, when you're thinking total package, are you including taxes, insurance when you tell me $1,500 or $2,000? Or is that, you know, just the actual mortgage itself? So you want to dig in and see what they can afford based off what they're telling you. And then really the next step would be to put them in touch with a lender. That would be the best move. Do not feel that you need to be a lender and know how to explain all of the options. But I like to tell people talking to a lender is free. And the truth is, knowledge is power. So you've now figured out what you can afford per month. Let's get you in touch with the lender and just see what they say. They might tell you that you're right. Maybe in today's market, you won't find something for what you're looking for, but wouldn't you want to know? And I find that works really, really well with people. Another option, and again, do not feel that you need to be a lender, but some people are talking about you can buy down the interest rate, which is, it kind of depends on the scenario if it makes sense. So that's, again, where I would have them talk with a lender before. You don't feel like you have to explain the whole process. But maybe what you could tell them is there are ways to reduce the interest rate. And that's why we should have you talk with a lender. So I would make the goal to get them with a lender. Another common thing that I've been hearing people say, and I think you have to be careful saying it, and I understand why we're saying it, but talk to them about the fact that if you found a house that you love and it solves a lot of your problems, you know, maybe the kids are fighting and you need a bigger house and you found a bigger house, wouldn't it be better to just get into that house? And if interest rates go down and you can afford it, refinance. I think we throw around refinance, which that is a solution, right? But it's not free to refinance. And so you want to make sure people understand, well, what does it look like to refinance? And again, talk to a lender. But the thing is, if interest rates keep going up, you're going to be really glad that you bought that house you love today, right? If interest rates go down, you can stay in your house and get into a lower mortgage rate. How many of you did that for your house when rates dropped down into the 3% range over the last few years? A lot of people on this call refinanced. Yet we want to make sure they know it's not just $2 to refinance. So again, that's where I would have them talk with a lender, Okay, another concern that we're hearing, so objection number 2 is, am I going to overpay for a house? Well, the thing is, with the way the market's going right now, I just watched a market update. They are not projecting housing prices to have some crazy influx in pricing over the next couple months. What I looked at was actually kind of comical. It seems that none of the experts are agreeing right now, okay? It's averaging that they are expecting it to go up 5% over the next year. That's the most positive. And the most negative is projecting it will go down 5% over the next year. So when you even them out over the next year, when you put all the experts together, they think home prices will go up 0.1%. Isn't that exciting? But the point is, if someone's worried about overpaying, what we're looking at when we look at data, it appears that might have happened, or as far as the price changing the most was back in August of this past year. So kind of looks like we might be past that happening. But again, we don't know. We can't predict or promise anything. If you're wondering where I'm getting this information, there's a website called keepingcurrentmatters.com, and they do the research for us so that we don't have to. And then I watch it, and that's where I get this data from. So I recommend checking that out. Here's the thing, and write this down in your notes, and then I'll give you the 2 other objections. Most people, when they give you an objection, what it actually is a lack of education. Write that down. Objections are usually a lack of education. So if you're talking to someone who's motivated, the issue is not motivation. The issue is education. And every now and then it could be that maybe they just had a bankruptcy, maybe something happened that they're motivated and they're educated and they just can't move. Sometimes that does happen. But overall, typically if they have an objection and they're motivated, it's a lack of education. So we have to educate them, which means I have to be educated, right? And so that's where classes like this, and then also keepingcurrentmatters.com is a site that I like to rely on. Okay, the third objection. So the first one was, how will interest rates impact me? That's probably about affordability. The second one, am I overpaying? We're not seeing that we expect prices to go way up or way down. So buying a house now, it's probably going to stay about the same, according to projections. All right, the third one, what if I sell and I can't find a house? So remember we said most objections are lack of education. I want you to write this data point down. This one is also good for people who say the market isn't moving, I'm afraid of the market. So this would actually work for a couple different things people might tell you. So as of today's update, in the last, since we've started this webinar 20 minutes ago, we've had, what's 8 times 20? 160? 160 homes have sold since we started this webinar across the country. So what they are finding, is that over the last year, we've had 4,090,000 homes sell. And actually, let me just do the math on that real quick. When you divide that out over 365 days, this would be a good number to write down. 11,205 homes are selling every day. So do you ever hear people say nobody or everybody or no one or everyone? It's because a lot of times fear and they're exaggerating it, and they might not realize it, but it's nobody's moving or everything is overpriced or everything is bad. And that's just not the case. 11,000 homes on average, 11,205 homes are selling on a daily basis in this country. And that breaks down, another way you could do it is 8 every minute. So every minute, 8 homes are selling. So let's say you have a 10-minute call with someone that's telling you that nothing's moving. You could tell them, while we've been having this conversation about nothing moving, 80 homes have sold, because 8 are selling every minute. Obviously, you need to know your local market. I'm sharing with you national averages, yet doesn't it help give confidence? How many of you feel better as agents hearing that statistic? How many of you are feeling encouraged? And what I'll tell you is somebody is selling those homes. Somebody is. So could you hit your goals if you just sold a fraction of the homes in your market, right? And yes, you're going to need to work harder and you need to work smarter, which is why we have webinars like this to help you with skill. But the thing is, you can hit your goal. Homes are selling. They are selling. And then the last thing is people are asking, the fourth objection, is the market about to crash? Is the market about to crash? And that is not what the projections are saying. Again, the data that we were just looking at, it was a range of -5% to +5% for what your home value will do this year. However, if you look at the last 2 years before the pandemic, so the 2 years before the pandemic, home prices increased on average 12% in those 2 years before the pandemic. During the pandemic, of course, it depends where you live, but during the pandemic, home prices increased about 38% since the pandemic began. So unless someone just bought a home incredibly recently, I could take a 5% hit on my home this year and still have a huge amount of equity. Y'all track with me? So again, you got to know when they bought their house, and you got to know some details. If they say, I just bought it last month, obviously that might not be great. But if this is someone who's owned their home for a while, they could take even the most negative projection of a -5% value on their home this year and still have huge amounts of equity because of the last several years. All right, so those are the top 4 market objections. Here's what I want to do real quick is I want to share with you where you can find more information like this. I'm going to give you a discount code. I also have an announcement that I just found out about right before this webinar, and then I will open it up to Q&A. So I will open it up to Q&A. So if you are wondering where to get more information like this, we have a class, and this is the announcement. We have a class that for 7 years has been called Mastering Inside Sales. How many of you have taken that class? And do you know, we do surveys in almost every class, people will say, Anna, you should change the name because it applies to everyone, not just inside sales agents. It's just lead conversion. So we heard you. So this is the announcement. I have not told anyone this until right now. We are changing the name of that class effective today to Mega Lead Conversion. Mega Lead Conversion. And so here's the thing. You can still go to masteringinsidesales.com and you will see the program information. But if you see Mastering Inside Sales or you see Mega Lead Conversion, they are the same. They are exactly the same. So don't be confused if you see those two classes, but go to masteringinsidesales.com and we are offering a promo, and I'll tell you why. I am going to South Africa's Keller Williams Family Reunion Conference. I'm so excited about it. And I'm just going to shoot straight with you. I would love to fill that class before I leave so that when I leave, I can just enjoy being in Africa and not have a bunch of people I'm replying to. So to do that, I've decided that I'm going to offer 15% off every month for people who enroll before I leave. So the class starts February 15th and you get 19 language patterns like the one I gave you today, as well as a whole bunch of other information. However, if you enroll by January 18th, so about a month before the class starts, if you enroll by January 18th, enter the code early15, I'll put it in the chat box. We will give you 15% off each month of the 6-month program. Is everybody tracking with me? So masteringinsidesales.com, masteringinsidesales.com in the chat box. That will take you to a website. It might say Mega Lead Conversion. It might say Mastering Inside Sales. They are the same class. You're going to hit register and then you're going to hit early 15. And as long as you do that by January 18th, you will get 15% off each month. Got it? All right. And in that class, we'll teach you how to leave voicemails that work. We'll teach you how to set appointments that actually show up. One team told me they went to a 40% show ratio to an 80% show ratio in 2 weeks because of that class. So imagine setting all of the appointments you're already setting, but doubling the amount that actually show up. Wouldn't that make life a lot easier? So that was a team out of Dallas reported that to me recently. I had another student tell me they had 10 extra held appointments a month, not set, actually held, or seen is another way to say that. 10 extra people a month that they were sitting in front of because of that class. And that was about halfway through the 6-month program that they told me that. So again, masteringinsidesales.com, early 15 will take 15% off. Susan says, how much is it a month? It's $199 a month, and then you get 15% off. So whatever that is, somebody do the math. I don't know what that would be, but 15% off. And yeah, it has to be all caps, early 15. So it starts February 15th, register by January 18th, and you'll get 15% off. Okay. I think that was all I had as far as announcements. So Mega Lead Conversion, Mastering Inside Sales, same class. Don't you all like that title? I just think it fits it better. And I see people from this class today who have been in that class, and some of you are the ones who have been hounding me to change the name. So there you go. All right. What questions do we have about today's webinar or about the class starting February 15th? Oh, someone asked me to put the slides back up. So here you go. All right, what questions? And you guys can either unmute yourself or you could use the chat box. But what questions do you have regarding today's content or about the class that's coming up? Y'all are so quiet. Usually in a group this size, it's like everyone has questions.
I have a question. Can you
Sure.
tell me a little bit more about what the 6-month program is going to look like? You said voicemails, having appointments show up. What other key things are you going to be going over in those classes?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So in the, I will say also watch the website because we are updating it with way more detail that will answer questions like that. But to give you an idea, the first 4 weeks, there are 18 weeks in the program. The first 4 weeks were really heavy hitting on what do you need to know immediately to immediately increase your production. So I don't want to make it like you have to wait till week 8 to get this vital information. So literally class 1, I give you a buyer sheet and a seller sheet that were you to read it as you're talking with a buyer or a seller, you have a very high chance of setting the appointment if they are motivated. And it walks you through how to get motivation. So some of the topics, there's 19 language patterns. I won't hit everyone right now just for time, but the essentials would be, how do I open a call so someone actually wants to stay on the phone with me? Another language pattern is, what do I do if they say, I'm busy, call me later? Which they picked up the phone. They probably have time, right? I'm not trying to be cynical, but they probably do have time. They picked up the phone. They didn't know it was you. So how do you keep them on the phone in a relationship-based way when they say, I'm busy, call me later? How do you set an appointment that shows up? We also teach you how to have the client call you back. So we teach how to give assignments to them so that they call you. How many of you feel like you're constantly chasing clients? They said they would call the lender. Let me call to see what the lender had to say. Well, Brenda, what if I said to you, hey, Brenda, your next step is to talk to the lender. When will you call me back and let me know what they said? Now they're going to call me back. So we teach you, we spend about 30 minutes in the class just on that right there. We go over how to get the signature, and students have reported to me that they get 90 to 95% of the people they meet with to sign with them and hire them. So how do you set that up so that they actually hire you? Industry average is 80, and people are getting 90 to 95. And I just know for people outside of coaching, it's lower than that 80. So to 90 to 95% of people signing with you. I also give you 4 tracking systems. So if you have tracking systems already, that's excellent, but I will give you 4 and explain why they matter. So I know I used to track numbers and not understand why it mattered. Like I just did it because my boss told me to, and then I would go to lunch. And now I understand why it matters. So we teach you how to forecast your income based off your numbers. So if you have a certain amount of money you want to make next year, we'll teach you how to make sure you hit the number. We just did that in our class last week. And so that's an overview. Amy, I hope, does that answer it for you? I mean, that's not every week of the 18, but I would say those are some of the big concepts.
No, that's great. Super helpful. Thank you so much.
Perfect. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Stacy in the chat box says, do we pay monthly or all at once? You pay monthly. You pay monthly. So you pay $199 a month, unless you enter the code early 15, all squished together, capitalized. And let me just see what that is real quick. So $199 with 15% off is $169.15 a month. What I will tell you is you're not paying this all at once. But if you're paying full price for all 6 months, it's just under $1,200. And that's if you're full price, just under $1,200. How many of you think that you'll get at least one closing from today's content? Right? Like, don't sign up if you don't think you're going to show up and participate. But if you're going to show up and participate, I have every confidence in the world that you will have multiple times return on investment. That is dependent on you showing up and participating. But I will give you the content that should dramatically increase your business. And I see students in here. Feel free to speak up.
Do you know yet what time it's going to be on the Wednesday?
Yes, it'll be 2:00 Eastern.
Oh, great.
3 Wednesdays a month. And we do record it. We do record it because we know you might be out with a buyer or various things. A true story. A friend of mine from church is not even in real estate. She's a photographer. And she said, can I take your class? And I said, you can. It'll help you. Just know I gear it towards realtors, but you'll benefit from it. And she quit showing up after, I don't know, maybe 2 months. So I saw her at church. I was like, is everything okay? I haven't seen you in class. And she laughed and she said, yes, I am so busy. And she actually said, I have signed my largest client ever. And I am so busy. That's why I'm not in there anymore. And I'm watching the recordings, but I'm no longer available in the afternoon because I'm with clients. So that was a huge, in my head, she just wasn't getting value or something. And it turns out she got so much value, she was too busy. Leslie, yes, we talk listing side as well. And it works for commercial agents and also residential. The class is really the science of how to talk to people. And it applies to anyone. We've had team leaders take the class. I mean, any sales role could take the class and benefit.
So I've taken the language of sales, not that I'm perfect in it yet, but I've taken that twice. And so
Awesome.
is there a lot of overlap or are these a little different?
Yeah, I would say that, and that's a great class, by the way. Language of Sales is a great class with Kara, huge respect for her. The difference would be that class is a lot of the psychology.
Mhm.
And I mean, you've taken it twice.
Mhm.
This class is step by step. And I'll give you some of the psychology. Like today, why would we welcome it and ask a yes or no question? And I explained why. But this is more, here are step by step frameworks for every part of the conversation. So I take you from hello, I'm busy, call me later, all the way through signed agreement, step by step by step by step. And that's why it's an 18-week program. Is during the pandemic, I sat down and I thought through, what are all the things I wish I knew when I got into real estate sales? And I made a comprehensive list. And then I gave the list to other people in the country that I considered top performers. And I said, what am I missing? And they added to the list. And when I looked at it, it became 18 weeks. We didn't sit down to write an 18-week program. It was to help people truly master this and be a confident, relationship-based, trusted advisor. What do they need to know? And it became an 18-week program. Does that answer it for you, Susan, about
Yes. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you go over that? Is it one of the objections, the last one, the one about the market crashing? Do you
Is
think
the market
market's about to crash?
Yes. So the answer to that one, and again, we don't know for sure. This is all projections. So Deborah, what I would say when you're talking to people, you can kind of have fun with it, because if you can make them laugh a little, it usually reduces stress. So I might say, Deborah, I wish I had a crystal ball, and I don't. But what I do have are professionals that research this, and they are not projecting that the market is about to crash. The best case scenario, we're seeing that home prices will go up about 5%. And the worst case scenario is people are saying they'll go down about 5%. Which is less than back in August. And so it appears that things are improving. And we don't totally know. And so Deborah, if you were the lead and we were having this conversation, I would share that with you and then quickly go back to your personal motivation. And that's one thing I didn't reference today, but personal motivation will be the main contributing factor in all 4 of these objections. How many of you have done something that didn't even make financial sense and you just did it because you wanted to so bad? Maybe it was a trip. I mean, it doesn't have to be big, but how many of you have gone on a trip and upgraded to the thing that you didn't actually need, but it's because you wanted to, right? Like if someone's motivation is high enough, they will move forward as long as they are pre-approved or like financially are actually able to. So Deborah, that addresses that particular one, is you can share with them what the data says, which will help them trust you because you actually know data and a lot of people don't. But then I would really talk to them about their motivation. I had a client that, I'm sure we all have a story like this, but I had a client that financially, he was not happy about what he was going to get for his house. But he and his wife were fighting, and he said, my marriage is in jeopardy if we do not get off the top of this mountain. We need to get down in the valley because my wife and I are fighting constantly. And the listing agent I assigned it to almost canceled it because the numbers looked so bad on the paper. And I said, I know it looks bad, but trust me, he and his wife are in a lot of trouble relationally. That's why they want to sell. And they actually signed and sold their home. But financially, it didn't look good. And they still sold their home. They had equity to play with. They just didn't get as much as they wanted. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure. Hold on real quick, Susan. Deborah, did that answer it for you before we move on? Okay, cool. All right, Susan, go ahead.
On your objection, can't find a house to move to. I mean, the numbers that you gave were really good, but I do have specific, especially like the baby boomer who are trying to downsize to, a first floor master kind of situation. And there just is nothing.
Yeah.
All the townhouses are upstairs, and everything like that.
Yeah. What I would say, Susan, in your market, because every market's different, and that's what I would say to you all is I gave national averages, but look into your market, find that data for your market. So what I would do if I were you is go to the MLS and I would look up single story homes and maybe broaden it. Maybe they say they want a townhouse, but maybe look up homes with small yards. Like, why is a townhouse important to them? Ask those questions. Like, would you be happy in a not a townhouse if it met your other requirements? And then just look up how many homes in your area have sold that are 1 story. And then my guess would be it's not nothing. That's the misperception, right? It might not be
Right.
a lot, but
Right,
it's not
right,
nothing.
right.
So then you can either have the conversation of, you know, it is only this many 30 homes in the last month. So are you prepared to be competitive in today's market? Or you might say it's actually 300 homes in the last month. Are you willing to broaden your search outside of townhomes? But the thing is data. The thing I want you to hear, Susan, even a year from now, when the market's different, my answer to you would be the same. Just find the data so you can show them it's not nothing, it's not everything, it's not no one.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, a couple questions in the chat box. Abby says, are we able to listen to today's recording? We will email it to you. It'll take me a little bit to get it, and then we'll email it to you. It's also going to be on the MAPS YouTube page. And then Catherine says, mastering inside sales is not just for ISAs. And that question is exactly why we changed the title. It is definitely not just for inside sales agents. It's for all sales roles. We've had team leaders take it. We've had rainmakers take it. We've had agents take it. In fact, the last 2 years, whenever I survey the class, at least 50%, if not more, are buyer and listing agents. So for years, the class has been for all sales roles, but the title has caused people to miss out on the opportunity, which is why we've changed the name. So Mega Lead Conversion is the new name, and it is not just for inside sales agents. Today, you're going to go to masteringinsidesales.com because we literally just got the new name and we're working to switch it over to the new website. So today you're going to go to masteringinsidesales.com, but that will be what's called Mega Lead Conversion. Is that clear? Cool. I was thinking about, I want to think of a fun way to announce this. So y'all are in on a little secret. If you have an idea for a fun way to announce it, but I thought about saying, I have a name change, join me Wednesday to find out what it is. Because people will probably think I'm like getting married or something. And then it's not me, it's the class. So I don't know. If you have a creative way for how to announce this, let me know. I'm really excited. We've been working on this behind the scenes for a while. Yay, Jackie, we'll see you February 15th. That's awesome.
Is it a 1-hour class?
1 hour, 3 weeks a month. And when you register, and in fact, when you go to the contract to register, you'll see all the dates. But we do 3 weeks a month because I used to teach 4 weeks a month. And what I found when I surveyed students is their retention wasn't as high, meaning they couldn't remember because it was so much. So now we do 3 weeks, give you a week off to just, okay, let me get this in my head before we add more. And then that also makes it that you don't fall behind if you take a week off, you know, it just seems to be a lot more manageable. Good questions. All right, any other questions? If you need to go, we are definitely at time. We're 15 minutes over, but I want to be here if you have questions and I have some time. So any other questions on today's content or on the class? Cassie, if someone says, she said, oh, hold on, let me answer Nancy because that's fast. Early 15 is the code, all squished together and capitalized. Also, it is not just for Keller Williams agents. So if it says, are you a KW associate, just hit no. And if it still asks you for an ID, just put none. So our group coaching is open to every brokerage. Okay, so sellers who want to wait, Cassie, that would go back to the 4-step pattern because it's not enough information to handle the objection. So I truly have no idea how to handle that just off that. So I would, thank you so much for letting me know you want to wait, right? Okay, great. What is it that makes you want to wait? Tell me more about why that's important to you. And then we'll find out the details. So maybe they're having surgery, maybe they're worried about their kid's school, who knows what it is. So once we know the actual reason, then we can address their objection. Hopefully that helps you, Cassie. Okay, and remember the class, some of you are asking me about class. Remember it starts February 15th, but register by the 18th to get that discount. So early 15, that's how you get the discount. All right, we'll do 1 or 2 more questions and then we'll wrap it up. How would you rebuttal a no answer to if I can show you so if I get down, let me put this back up here. If I get down to the 4th step, And I say, hey, if I can show you a way that we can solve it, or if I can show you that waiting doesn't really make sense, would you be open to moving sooner? If they say no, that likely means they have another objection. So then I would say, okay, what else is holding you back? And then I would follow the same process. It's unusual that someone would have only one objection. Think of yourselves. How many of you, when you think of, like, if I were to move, and I'm not moving, I just renovated my house. I do not want to move ever. Okay. That was a process. But if I were to move, I already know off the top of my head, I'd have an objection about packing. And I would have an objection about where would I go to? Because I really love my house. So right off the bat, you have two objections from me. And here's a little insight. How many of you thought you had an amazing appointment scheduled and then they went into the wind and you just never heard from them again? Often what's happening, there was an objection you didn't uncover. So you uncovered the whole, I don't want to pack up my house, and you talked to them about a moving company, set the appointment and hung up. And in the back of their head, they still had the objection of, but will I ever find a house I love as much as this one? And now they've no-showed you. So part of getting appointments to show up, there's no appointment language in what I'm teaching you today, right? But part of getting appointments to show up is to uncover all objections. So that was a really good question there. And Katrina, that's how you would handle it. So what else is holding you back if they say no? And sometimes people are just no. I mean, that's just the nature of this job, right? But a lot of times you can get down to the true story. And again, in that class, we teach you how to handle all these things. Okay. Abby, I'm so glad. She said first time, and I feel like I've learned so much. Yeah, there's a lot of new faces here. So thank you guys for joining me today. We are going to go ahead and wrap it up because of time. We're almost 20 minutes over. So during this webinar, what's 5 times? So 400 homes have sold during this webinar across the United States. Woohoo! All right. Well, I will see you guys in the next class. Oh, Catherine. I don't know if my name is in there, actually. How we heard about the February class. Is it asking you that on the contract, Catherine?
Yeah, but your name's not there.
Okay. I think you can just leave it empty.
There is, at the bottom, there's an NA.
Okay. Yeah, you could just do that. Also, do you see my dog? She might join us in class. So hope you like that.
Oh, what's her name?
Her name's Maya.
Beautiful.
She's spoiled rotten. So you'll see her in class. If you like dogs, you're going to love it. Lisa's saying, what's the total amount?
It was like 1,011 or something, 14.
Yeah, so without the discount, the class, oops, I did that wrong. So without the discount, the class is $1,194. With the discount, the total class, you don't pay this all at once, you pay monthly, but the total class is $1,014.90. So here's again my question, what's your average commission? And if you were to show up for this class, and what we find for most people, if they had one closing because of this class, they'll get at least 5 times ROI at least. And that was on the low end. I would be horrified if you only had one closing because of this class, because I know the results it will get you. I've been teaching this since 2008. And so again, don't sign up if you don't trust yourself to show up. But if you believe you'll show up and you'll engage, the class will get you clients, I promise you.
Hey, Anna, one more question. We pay monthly, we enter the discount each month, and it's $169 each month, correct?
Yeah, whatever that 15% is of the $199.
Yeah, so it's monthly, we get that discount each month, not just this one time if we do it before the 15th or the 19th. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. There's a couple more questions. By the way, if you feel like I'm doing a good job of getting you into class, you should take the class because I teach you sales. All right. And by the way, I know I still have a lot to learn too. I am regularly in training classes myself. So I'm right there with you guys. I'm going to just show you because some of you are asking about downloads and what does the class look like. So I'll just show you real quick. I'm going to go into this is the client portal. If you've never taken a class, you've never seen this probably, but this is what the client portal looks like. And I'm just going to click on this one. Again, it will be called Mega Lead Conversion by the time you're in the class. And what happens once you're in your client portal, there's call times. So here you can see all the dates, you can see all the Zoom info. So once you register, you'll get an automatic email inviting you to this portal immediately as soon as you register. So if you don't see it, check spam, it's probably in there. And then this will probably be empty for a little while because we are a bit out from class, but closer to February 15th, you'll start seeing session 1 appear. And you'll see, oh yeah, we have a script partner sign up sheet right here. So you'll get that session 1, you'll get a workbook, you get a buyer sheet, a seller sheet. So all downloads for every class will be over here. And then this will be a gray box until after class. And after class, within 24 hours, we put the recording. So this right here is the recording from session 1. So say that you're in class and you missed one because you're out with a client or something. You'll just pop in here. I'll click on session 2. You'll just pop in here. There's the download for your workbook. Here's the recording from class within 24 hours. So that's what class looks like. And it's a 6-month program. You get access to the client portal for 2 additional months after class. So you get 8 months of access to that portal for the 6-month program. Whew. Any other questions? Awesome. A lot of you are saying you've signed up, which is awesome. By the way, February 15th is when class starts and it is my birthday, so it would be awesome to see you there. I'm excited. It's a fun way to spend the day. If you can't tell, I love teaching these. If you couldn't tell, it really is my favorite thing to do. I absolutely love teaching these classes. So hopefully I'll see you there. I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar, but if you have any questions, you can shoot me an email at mapscoachanna@gmail.com. And I will be emailing all of you that registered a copy of today's recording. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.